You're listening to the Ballet Piano Podcast, lifting the lid on dance accompaniment.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to this episode of the Ballet Piano Podcast. My name is Chris Hobson, and to my right is my good friend and co-host, Mr. Matt Gregory.
Hola.
Thanks, Matt. Right, today we are on location with a fantastic company pianist who goes by the name of Jeanette Wong. Hello, Jeanette.
Hello.
Can we say where we're on location? Are we allowed?
We are recording at a school in the centre of London with a bridge that connects it to the Opera House.
Ooh.
And there's a lodge which is white somewhere in Richmond. That gives it away.
I think that's enough.
That's enough. So Jeanette has literally just come out of a rehearsal playing 132 beats a minute, fingers flying everywhere in preparation for the Royal Ballet School summer show. But before we get into Jeanette's company pianist career, Jeanette, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Nice to be here in London.
How was the rehearsal?
It was interesting. I mean, I did my best, but I don't want to peak too early is how I'm going to put it. Because the show's not till July. Yeah. That's my excuse. Yes. So it's basically just a run through with the students and our conductor to make sure that everyone's on the same page. And yeah, because it'll be the first time that I do this number as well. So I'm really looking forward to it. Playing in the Opera House. So.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, right, so how did you get into playing for ballet?
By accident. I'm sure all of us
get into it by accident.
Yeah. I think so, absolutely. I mean, I was a student at the Conservatoire in Birmingham. Yeah. And I just finished my undergraduate, just finishing, I think, my final year of the undergraduate course. And then I was desperate to stay on another year to study master's degree. But I was so broke. So I was trying to basically find ways of earning extra money to support myself. I mean, I've the study loans and everything for the tuition fee, but for living expenses. So I was just trying to get as much freelance work as possible while studying the master's course. And so my professor at the time, the head of keyboard there, basically asked us to maybe talk to his PA at the time, who was basically in charge of all the external work opportunities. Right. Yeah. So I went to speak to her. She's quite a formidable lady, so I was a bit afraid of her. But she was basically, have all these contacts, and so whoever externally wanted to offer work for students there, she's in charge for pianists. So I went there, had a chat with her, and I was so desperate at that time. I was already, full of anxiety, I would say. And so in the middle of our conversation, I just burst into tears. And that was when she suddenly pulled out this paper from her desk and said, oh, actually, there's this job that the Royal Ballet School's been in touch for their JAs in Birmingham. So it's like fortnightly classes. And maybe my tears did the job. She suddenly just, okay.
So that was your first playing gig then, the JAs?
Yeah, basically. Okay. Yeah. And so that's a
good starting ground for sort of learning ballet, isn't it?
It is for dancers as well. The JAs is where they start before they go full time generally. So yeah, it's quite.
But I think you still should know some basic, knowledge of accompaniment for dance. But I went in there complete novice. I think I observed perhaps one or two associate classes with another pianist who was already there, who I knew from the time that we were at the Conservatoire because we were in the same year.
So when you started playing for JAs, you didn't know any of the names of ballet steps or any of the ballet language?
I did know a bit because I did do up to like grade 5 RAD. I was.
You were a secret bonehead.
Oh, I do love it.
I didn't know you did ballet.
I did, yeah. I still do. Like my only exercise that I do is also ballet fitness online. Yeah.
Wow.
That's how I keep.
That's why you look so good.
Well, I try to. It's very beneficial, Chris. Do you want to join us?
No, absolutely. The last time we were recording an episode, David was trying to get me to put point shoes on. Not on.
No, not on point.
Not on your.
No,
not on
you.
your life.
No.
You're never gonna...
No, it is good for us sitting down all day. All the stretches and core. And
I got told off about my posture yesterday.
See?
Yes, I know.
From who?
A teacher at a company somewhere.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, really. Anyway, right, come on, we're getting really off topic here. It's not about me. This is about Jeanette.
Oh, gosh.
As we record this,
Yes.
it's my birthday and I'm getting bullied. So happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday, darling.
Anyway,
Chris.
right, let's get back to it. So you started first class with the JAs.
Yes, so I do know some of the terminologies and what it means. But musically, I think I was a complete novice and I haven't got a clue what the dances counts represent. Poor teacher at the time was Miss Saidi.
Oh, the lovely Sammy Saidi.
Yes, bless you, Sammy. She was putting up with me. Yeah,
They have to be patient when you're starting out, don't they?
She was incredibly patient.
Yeah.
I mean, if she had been horrible to me, I would have given up, obviously.
Yeah.
So thanks to Sammy that I'm still here. Really.
I think we've all had those situations, haven't we, where you've wanted the ground to eat you up. But we've all got those one or two teachers that helped us at the start and guided us through it and held our hands.
Yeah, absolutely.
And were kind to us when possibly the job gets a little bit overwhelming.
And just let you play the same old tunes until you build your repertoire.
Well, there was a folder that she lent me
Yeah.
from the Royal Ballet School, I think, with music for helpless pianists like myself back then. So I was just going by that to
ideas of what to
start
play.
myself with, exactly.
Yeah.
And then because it's all marked up with what exercise would go with this piece of music and so on. So I just kind of went from there. And then
Did you enjoy it?
Well, not really, because I had no idea what I was doing.
And you know what? You don't start enjoying it until you become a bit more accomplished.
And I think I must confess, at that time, I was more into playing for chamber music, accompaniment, and with the musicians rather than for dance. So dance for me is just a sideline, I must say. So I didn't really do my homework much. So that's a confession. Sorry, everyone. So until basically 2007, I think Elmhurst, because I was always based in Birmingham, all my contacts there. So I was freelancing as companies at the conservatoire, the university, amateur choirs, and teaching as peripatetic. Everything, everywhere. But, and then this, so they were desperate for pianists at Elmhurst. And then Sammy actually rang me up and said, would you be interested? Because obviously I was one of the Birmingham-based pianists that she knows. And I was like, yeah, sure, of course. It's just basically at my doorstep. Okay. So I went. So I was part-time there from like May 2007. And my first teacher was Mr. Ho.
Oh, the gorgeous Michael Ho, who was still bullying to try and get on this podcast.
Yes, I know. We must get him on. Yeah, and then it transpired that they are also advertising for full-time pianists at that time. So then I applied, and I was there then. And I got a job for September. And then, that was it. I was there full-time for 6 years. And that was so amazing because basically that's my training ground.
That was your learning curve, 6 years.
So I'm finally fully dedicated myself and committed to play for ballet and actually, want to be better. So it was really a perfect platform, I think, to hone my skills. Yeah. It was, you're kind of allowed to make mistakes, but at the same time, because there's so many classes that you do every day.
Because repetition just helps you instantly, doesn't it?
And like different levels, from year 7 to 6th form, which is like pre-company, really.
The kids before they go into the companies and stuff.
It's
and
perfect.
You get good really quickly if you're doing it every day.
Exactly.
Those pitfalls and those awkward moments, you just can get out of them so much easier because You're doing it every day.
And then I was starting to learn the reps, obviously, from solo classes, solo competitions,
and then
the summer shows.
Yeah.
So, and then when Desmond took over as the artistic director, and I think that gave me an extra push to, I remember he had this meeting with all the pianists, set us all down, and he was like, really try to do away with using music, because I was always carrying this huge bag of music with me because I was so underconfident. I wasn't a good improviser. I was so scared to do anything without music, and I was so out of my comfort zone. But then once I got into it and actually forced myself to do it, and with the encouragement from Desmond, and we really, I really got into the rhythm of things. And it's so much better when you can actually watch
what's going on, isn't it? As opposed to
it makes
one eye here,
all
one
the
eye
difference.
there.
I know, I can't believe I
And when you ditched the music, did you find you became more freer?
Oh, absolutely.
You just do, don't you?
Absolutely. It was such a difference. And so much more fun because you finally feel like part of the group.
Because your eyes are constantly on the dancers, or like half on the dancers and half on the teacher, not on the dots in front of you.
Oh gosh, yes, that was
But the music can be like a sort of a safety blanket, can't it, as well? And it's,
it is. But it does restrict you in some ways.
You've got to be as versatile as possible.
Yeah, I think
and if you're a slave to the dots,
and whatever works for you, I'm not against using music whatsoever. But I think you also need to have your eyes on the dancers.
I still have a lot of music, but I don't tend to read it. But it's on the iPad in front of me, and I've got it all saved in Fourscore, and it's literally just.
Me too. I mean, I still have.
Guide.
I still have my iPad on sometimes for company classes, especially when I'm introducing new tunes into the classes, and that is so useful. You just have everything there.
I sometimes forget how many tunes I know, and I'll just sort of like flick through my playlist of threes or fours and just see the title.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or to remember a B section.
Play your A section backwards.
I just do medleys of A sections sometimes. I just can't remember them.
So that was really fun, and I had a great time in Elmhurst. And then obviously for summer shows, rap wise, I was so lucky that they were doing things like elite syncopations, and I was asked to play for all the shows, all the rehearsals. And there was company dancer at the time that came in to teach it to the students. So it was kind of my first experience of learning to work for, kind of like how a company would work. So that was my first experience of it. It was great. I had so much fun. And we
started off with Elite as well, Chris. That's a great piece to start with. It's just fun. It brings a smile to your face every time, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the interactions with the dancers. And I had sixth formers playing the drums and bass for us. So it was a trio of us doing the shows. Yeah, it was really cool.
How did you then sort of end up at the company at Birmingham Royal Ballet?
What I think also it was another piece that I did. I think Sammy choreographed that, and she used music by Czerny Etudes. Right. And I think my predecessor, Jonathan Higgins, came to watch the show, I think. And after that, I was invited to start playing for class, like especially Saturdays when we don't work at the school, and just starting to do some regular company classes to start with. Yeah, and then when one of the pianists left, so there was not so much of a vacancy, but that they need an extra pair of hands. So then I kind of transition into.
Do you remember that first transition into your first company class?
I don't remember.
Do you not remember?
Because I actually have no recollection at all. I don't even remember who the teacher was. No, it was just a blur to me.
Like, sometimes the company classes are so much quicker. They're at such a fast pace compared to sort of because it's an hour and 15 minutes as opposed to over 2 hours or 2 hours in a vocational school. So
I honestly can't remember.
There's just no. I remember like this. I remember sort of one of my first experiences. Thinking, there's no time to think.
No, there isn't. Is there?
Well, I was glad that at that point I was already doing away from using music. I think that helped enormously.
And then, I suppose then you've had the grounding of knowing what a teacher expects when they say warm up or pliés and, or they say, oh, can I have something that's a bit more fondue-y?
Yeah. By that time, I think I was already kind of know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you play the piano phenomenally. And yes, you do. And
yes, you
I think
do.
to get the fingers around all the rep for the company, you know, for like what goes on just in one season is a lot of work, isn't it?
If our listeners are interested, there's a rehearsal video on the Birmingham Royal Ballet Facebook page, and it's Darcy Bussell, and she's coaching the Grand Pas de Deux, and lovely Jeanette is playing it, and she plays it so beautifully. So listeners, go and have a look over on the BRB Facebook page for that.
Yeah, we did do quite more and more these sort of Facebook
little
live stream
things.
as well.
Yeah,
we did one with the Apollo, and we did a Rosadage, and quite a few now. I think
You're
more
Facebook
and more
famous. Well, that's the modern way, though, isn't it? I suppose everything's going online, and it's for social media for audience interaction and engagement as well, isn't it?
Gain new audiences and interact
much more than it used to.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially after COVID, definitely. Yeah, more and more. Yeah.
So you've been at Birmingham now and BRB for how long? It's about 10 years? You've been there?
I think so. What is it now? 2024?
2024 now.
I think I joined 2013, actually. Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's the 10-year anniversary.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, we'll party after the recording. Have a belated celebration. You must enjoy the job there to have been doing it for so long.
I do love it. Yeah, it doesn't feel like a job. You're just having fun every day with the dancers in the studios, because I think it's so different every day. Every day is different. You know, even class every day is different. And it's up to you also we're like jukeboxes, aren't we?
You've got to bring the freshness.
Chris is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we try, but we all try, don't we? But then you can never rest on your laurels. Certainly with class repertoire,
I mean,
there's
that's why
always something new to improve.
So great when BRB is in town in London. I always use you guys because it's so good in the company. It's such a family business, isn't it? Because it's such a team effort,
and especially with the touring companies as well. You know, you're on the road for X amount of weeks a year.
You know, just gel together, and then we collectively work towards this big thing, and then showing it to the audience, and the joy of it is so thrilling. I love it.
Are you a team of 3 at Birmingham? Remind me. Currently.
Yes, currently. Yes.
Okay, 2.5.
Yeah, it used to be 4 of us.
Right.
So after COVID, it's down. Yeah.
So what is it, do you think, that you enjoy about the job? If you're going to sort of like pick your top 3 highlights of being a company pianist.
Well, personally for me, it's the shows.
Yes.
Because I love performing. So I love being in the pit with the amazing Royal Ballet Sinfonia.
Who sounded incredible at Sadler's Wells recently, by the way. Oh, it was so good.
We have
the
so
band
much
sounded
fun.
fab.
We do love playing there. And so whenever there's a keyboard part in the production, that's where I enjoy the most, really. Other than that, I think just like I said, like the progression of from day one, you know, early stage of preparation, and then you build and build and build until you kind of peaked at performance time. It's just such a amazing journey, because then you have the stage calls. You start with the studio calls first, and full calls, and then with the conductors starting coming in, and then doing full calls with the principals, and then with the whole company, with the whole ballet run through, and then the pit with the stage calls, piano stage call, and then the dress with the orchestra.
Do you find that transition weird? Because I used to sometimes, when you're in the studio and you can see everything and you know where you're watching all the time, and then you get into the pit, and then suddenly you're transfixed on the conductor because you can't see anything. And that used to take me sort of 24 hours to get used to, because you know where you're looking in the studio from the piano, don't you? Then when you're in the pit, you're just looking straight forward. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the transition does happen quite smoothly, because when you're doing the studio full call, the conductor is there as your eyes. You no longer, I won't look at the dancers then. I'm just fixated on the conductors then. So that's when you get used to it.
Is that weird? Going from looking at dancers and trying to
Well,
pick
I think
up their
something
nuances.
that you can get used to quite quickly.
Yeah.
You just basically focusing because you also have to follow the conductor. So that takes a lot of concentration already.
Yeah.
So it's quite good that you don't have to focus on the dancers. So the conductor will do that. Also, they will need to be the one who dominates because then if anything that needs to be discussed with the ballet staff, tempo
it goes
or
through
whatever.
the conductor, doesn't it?
They know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So say you're doing a new production or a revival, how far in advance do you find out all this information, and then how far ahead of time do you sort of start getting things in your fingers ready for the rehearsal schedules and things?
Right. Well, I guess it depends what the rep is. If it's a full length, like a Swan Lake or Sleeping Beauty, a month would be good.
Is that just for Carabosse?
Well, it depends. You can have your grade 5 version of Carabosse.
I'm on the preliminary version.
Exactly, right?
Okay.
No. Yeah, it's fine. Like a month would be great. 2 weeks will be definitely for like a easier rep. 2 weeks is fine.
Yeah.
Like for example, when I was learning the Ravel's Miroir for Will Tucker's newest piece that we are currently performing with the BRB2 company now. And I think it took me about 2 weeks to learn that.
Right.
For it to be good enough for Will to actually use my playing to choreograph on.
Right.
Because you don't want to be under tempo or whatever. It has to be the performance tempo so that the choreographer can use it to choreograph accordingly. So, yeah, I would say that's around that sort of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have to study the score as well and mark everything into your score, you know, all the choreography. So I remember, because we started January this year for Sleeping Beauty rehearsals, and I went home for Christmas for 2 weeks before that for our mid-season break.
Right.
And I did have to do my homework back home. I took my Sleeping Beauty score and every day, I was jet lagged anyway, so I was up like 4 or 5 a.m. and I was like doing looking at the video and like marking up all my scores. I mean, it's marked up, but not as detailed as I like it to be. So I just marked it up again this time around. And so you kind of have to do that quite a lot. I think I used about 3 full days to actually do that.
Because like marking up a score, we haven't actually done an episode on that, but that might be something to look into because it's so personal as well, isn't it? And it will change from revival to revival because depending on who's setting the production, different steps will have different names sometimes, won't they? You know, the Ashton step that somebody might call it, or somebody else might call it chassé pas de bourrée, or whatever the step happens to be. So you've got to be so on it in the rehearsals as well, haven't you? Because, you know, just picking up these little changes of things that are happening.
And also you want to be mindful when you mark your score up that the other pianists are going to see this in future, and you want to make it as clear as possible for them and as much information as possible for them. So anything that it's relevant in the studios, you would put it in so that the next person to come in and use your score, we have no question over.
But then it's also finding the right balance, isn't it, between actually how much stuff you put in there? Because if you've got too much, if you've got something written in every bar, it's a pain in the backside. So it's literally because you can't see the relevant bits. So it's sort of trying to hone it, and that's a technique that you learn actually as a pianist. That's one that you can't really teach, isn't it? You sort of learn that over time in the studios.
Yeah, I would say every 8 to 16 bars you should have something written so that they can pick it up from the phrases.
I still need to learn some of the choreographic movements because I just write the massive lift. I had my own Mancunian terminology for ballet.
Well, that's when your relationship with the ballet staff, comes in really handy. Yeah, we can help each other with this sort of thing. Like if they have anything musical to ask us, and then we can ask them vice versa. So that's really the communication that you can build up and then just make the working together so much smoother.
I think you learn the pickup points as well, don't you?
Absolutely. I mean, they just call it the same, hopefully. Yeah. Sometimes they don't, which is not helpful.
That's what,
Yeah, which is not helpful. And then you kind of... So, I mean, moments like that, I can just, pipe up and say, look, do you want to call this section a certain name so that we can just collectively call this every time.
Yeah, and you know, some sections have their own little nicknames.
Yeah, exactly.
And that becomes universal, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It's
That
funny.
someone's called it back in the day, and then that becomes that section.
Yeah.
And like with all the, I mean, it's funny, I suppose at some point this sounds really morbid, but we're going to lose that sort of connection with why these things were called in such a way, because the you know, people are not going to be around forever. Are they? Something like dancers who were there when Ashton was choreographing and have got that information firsthand. It's then passed down sort of through the generations, so the actual directness will not be here forever.
Because I always play that waltz from Manon that we all play.
Yeah.
And the teacher was like, "Oh, that's lovely. What's that?" And I was like, "Oh, that's the orgy waltz." Because I think that's what it's been called, isn't it?
Yes.
You know which one I mean.
I know exactly which
and everyone calls it that.
Wow.
So I don't say that at school.
No, you can't. You can't.
So, but yeah, that's things like that are born out of that ballet in particular as well.
Yeah.
Like funny steps, like, you know, slut step. I remember was one in a ballet that I did once. Yeah.
Oh, funny.
That was funny. So what is next for Jeanette in terms of, you know, what are you working on? What's sort of going on for the rest of the year?
So the rest of the year, we are going on a European tour of Black Sabbath, the ballet, which we did back in the autumn last year.
That was a triumph, wasn't it? That Black Sabbath.
Yes.
That's a real connection with Birmingham as well, isn't it? It couldn't be more connected.
I think that's the whole idea that Carlos wanted to,
you
know, basically have that connotation with the very city that we're in and make much more connection with that. And
brought a new audience to BRB.
Oh, it certainly has.
Yeah, a different audience.
I know. There's so many first-timers that came. I mean, it's such a mixed bag of audience that came to those shows. And the reaction at the end of each show is phenomenal. I mean, I've never experienced such loud reception from the cheers.
It wasn't straight-laced cricket pitch applause, was it? It was.
No, I remember because Tony Iommi came on as a surprise at the end, and I just saw this girl in the front row, and you can just saw her face of realization, and she just bawling her eyes out. Yeah, she just couldn't contain herself.
Because if she'd gone to a Black Sabbath concert, they probably would have been further away. Yeah. So if she's on the front row at Sadler's Wells to see those.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I know. It was quite something. Yeah. Even the orchestra members who had been, doing the shows for decades, they were like, I've never seen anything like it. You know, the reaction from the audience.
That was a good idea.
Yeah,
then,
because
that.
we were all having headphones because we were listening to the click.
Yeah.
So at the end of the show, we take it off. I remember taking my headphones off. I was like, oh my goodness, I have to put it back on because it was so loud.
Wall of sound hitting you.
Wow.
It was quite something. Yeah, so we're bringing it to Rotterdam, Luxembourg, and then in July in Hamburg. And then next year we're going to America with it.
That's brilliant because it's going to sell across the world because Black Sabbath are huge.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. It's a global brand.
And they will have never seen a ballet to Black Sabbath music. So, oh God, that's going to do really well. That's going to be a nice thing to do.
Yeah, it'll be lovely. And then we're doing this little gala thing in Iceland, which is the BRB2 program.
Right.
So I'll be there with our principal cellist, Antonio, and we'll do End of Time and Dying Swans, and then I'll do Will's new piece, the Ravel pieces. So that'll be lovely. A little trip to Iceland. And then
I've been to Iceland.
Oh, it's
I've been
lovely,
to
isn't
Reykjavik.
it?
It's really nice.
It's cold.
Yeah.
And then you'll be on the summer break, and then it's back for the autumn winter season.
Yes. So we have the new ballet Luna. Yes. We have 5 female choreographers and Kate Whitley, also a female composer. So it's about empowerment of the female energy and everything. So that's Luna, and then we have Fee. So that'll be fun. So we'll have Fee in the autumn, and then obviously Nutcracker, and then we're coming back to Albert Hall, yay! With a Nutcracker there. And
is that end of the year?
Yes. So between Boxing Day and New Year's Eve, as always. Yeah, because we took a break last year, so.
And the Royal aren't doing their Nutcracker this year,
they're
are
not.
they?
They're doing Cinderella.
So yours is going to sell out.
Well, I think E&B will be doing that.
I think E&B's on.
They've got a new
They've got a
nutcracker
new.
this year.
That's right.
A
Yes,
brand new
Aaron's,
one.
yeah.
Are you going to go watch it?
Of course.
Yeah.
I'd love to. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and then it's Cinderella for the spring tour. And then
Fingers around that Prokofiev over Christmas.
I know. And
Happy Christmas to you.
oh, I know. And I won't have the luxury of 2 weeks because it'll be like 1 week of mid-season break and then back to Cinderella.
So you've just said then what's coming up in the next year. Mm-hmm. So you know what you're going to need to practice.
Yeah. But I don't start that. You don't want to peak too soon, darling.
Darling, I need 10 years to prepare for a full call or a rehearsal or something.
Well, it does help when it's rap that you've done in the past.
Yeah.
So we've done Cinderella before.
Yeah, so you can relax a bit until pivotal moment when you need to look at it.
You still need to.
Yeah.
Just trying to it's just getting your fingers back.
Yeah, I know.
Around that, isn't it? Because you sort of, I don't know if you find this, your fingers get used to what they're playing as well. So if obviously you play very differently if you're playing Minkus compared to Prokofiev or something like that. It's a much different.
And look at these
And
small
Jonathan,
fingers.
Jonathan says of the Cinderella score, those melodies are over 3 octaves sometimes. Yeah. Jumpy intervals.
I will bring in my grade 5 version. Don't worry.
I think the thing is less notes better. Because you can actually hear what you're dancing to then, as opposed to, playing, because you can play too much.
Yeah.
It sounds like I'm taking the mickey, I'm not, but you can.
It has to be physically possible, and still remain, keep the integrity of the music.
Yeah.
You need to know how to adapt.
I'm putting you on the spot here as company pianists, both of you. But what percentage of the notes on the page do you actually play?
It really depends.
Yeah.
Depends on the ballet,
right?
Yeah,
it?
Exactly.
If it's Don Q, you're going to play realistically 99% of the notes that are on there,
right.
And same for La Bayadere. But if you're playing, what am I thinking of? If you're playing Romeo and Juliet or Cinderella, maybe 75, 80.
What, because the scores are notably harder, or?
Yeah. Some of the transcription is not very pianistically.
Yeah, sure.
Written.
Yeah, it's not pianist friendly.
Yeah, so you just need to make it work.
Sure. But you try and play as many notes as possible.
I mean, sometimes it's quite frustrating.
Yeah.
Or choose the bits that the dancers need to hear.
Exactly.
I think that's your baseline.
Really
you've got
key.
to be able to you've got to know what the dancers are listening to and what they're dancing to.
Sure.
And then if you can happen to fit the counter melody or whatever else is going on in there,
rhythm.
fantastic.
Yeah, I remember the battle scene in the Nutcracker. The main melody in the brass section is not even in there.
Yeah.
So you actually have to put it all in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the transcriptions of the battle scene in Nutcracker are atrocious.
Yeah, and the snow scene. Well, that's why it's so nice sometimes when you get to play, like now that the Ravel's piece that Will has chosen. I'm so grateful for Will to choose such a beautiful piece for me to play. And it's so satisfying because I'm no longer a reduced orchestra. You actually play something that's written
for piano.
Yeah. And it's so pianistically, it just works.
Will is a very smart person.
Such a joy.
He's so clever. So it doesn't surprise me that he's...
So it's nice to have that mixture. Yeah, otherwise years of just playing orchestra reduction can be quite, so destroying.
And it's tiring as well, isn't it? Because you are playing, it's a
kind
different
of a thankless,
way of playing. Yeah.
Thankless
It
task.
can be, yeah.
Really.
And you find different ways to sort of almost keep your playing fresh. It's like, okay, I'm really going to, if you're in the pet and you might hear something or just be, I've not quite, I've never played it like that before. So you're trying to emulate viola or a cello or something like that. And constantly you can't do it on a piano.
Very unsatisfying.
So you try really hard.
How do you sound like brass on piano?
Have a curry the night before and a couple of pints before the rehearsal, apparently. That's quite stereotypical, but it has been known for an orchestra to have a beer before a show, hasn't it? Once or twice. Yeah. But we won't go there because that'll get litigious. Right, Jeanette. Thank you so much for spending time with us before you head on the Avanti train back to the Midlands.
The Avanti train.
It is. Avanti. Yeah.
Avanti. Right, Jeanette, it's been an absolute honour and a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. It's
and
so much
we'll
fun.
see you again in December.
Yeah, and happy birthday.
Thank you very much, darling. See you.
See ya.